live in my Big Rob voice. Rest in peace, Big Rob.
Rest in peace.
Yes, sir. We're coming to you live from the Den, man. It's the Live in the Den podcast, man. Shout out to my co-pilots, Wings World. We got a sponsor today.
Shout out to my man Barry, Life Clothing. Y'all go check him out at St. Charles Mall out there. He got a store in the mall.
You don't know how many times you're going to add something new on, but you know, my guys keep me fresh. Kenny One, We Are One. Got my man Happy. He ain't got no sponsor yet.
Shout out to his sponsor, Dick's Sporting Goods.
Dick's Sporting Goods. No names. Shout out to his sponsor, 10X. My man's sponsor is 10X.
10X.
My man got that Mayweather watch on today, y'all. Last episode, he had that Polex on. Now my man went in the closet and got another one of them Fugazis out. Yeah, but today's topic, man, we're going to talk a little bit about police brutality, man. I spent 25 years in law enforcement, man, so we're going to tap on police brutality, my thoughts and opinions on that, being in that law enforcement game, how police brutality has really caused the community to not respect or trust law enforcement, and the things that have taken place over the years. I don't blame them for feeling the way that they do towards law enforcement. But I can tell you that being in the game that long, every police officer ain't what you see on TV. It's definitely some bad apples out there, and I'm gonna be blunt and honest. A lot of these jokers been bullied when they were kids. A lot of them joined the force with ulterior motives. They want to have that power, so they think the gun and the badge gives them that power. And I'm not speaking from what I don't know. I'm telling you what I know, because I've seen it with my co-workers. I've experienced it with MPD, Park, Capitol, right here in the city of Washington, D.C., and in Moe County, PG County, where I've encountered police officers, and they never knew I was a police officer. You can tell by one's demeanor, well, I can tell, I'm speaking for me, that by their verbiage, that they're on a power struggle. So we're going to tap on that a little bit. And like I say, some people get a nut off of that power. Speaking on, I've witnessed it firsthand, you know what I'm saying? So the shit I've been seeing on TV over the last few years, going back to George Floyd, even before George Floyd, the Rodney King situation, back when the riots and all of that stuff. But so when I joined law enforcement in '97, I got to actually see that. I was going to the academy with white officers, and just hearing their language, listening to them, I can tell that some of them were not the right ones to be out there policing the streets. And I ain't just talking about in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. I'm talking about period. These jokers were straight authority chasers. And they, like I said, they thought that badge and that gun, it was the power to give them, and some of them thrive over that power. I could tell you a little bit about my days in it. I've been pulled over many a times in my town, and I don't use my badge. I don't show my badge. They can tell from my language that I know something. So when they come at me talking all that off the wall shit, I give them that verbiage. They know, oh, okay, this joker knows something. I can remember getting pulled over in Northeast DC, about coming from the Wizards game. two white guys from MPD. They pulled me over. And these guys were out stereotyping, racial profiling. This is what they were out doing that particular night. And it ain't no, and I came to that conclusion when they pulled me over. It's nobody on that strip that I was on, East Capitol Street. It was just me. Now, I don't smoke weed, cigarettes, or nothing. So they pulled me over. My windows not tinted. My back windows are factory tinted. I had factory tint. So they pulled me over, two white guys, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. They come over. I roll my window down, and the guy on the passenger side, you know, I asked me for my driver's license and registration. I say, officer, what, you know, I asked that question. You can ask that question. Why you pull me over? Well, when they start giving you that, you don't ask me questions, I ask you questions shit. Then you know those are guys that's out there on the bullshit. Because you have the right to ask them why they pulled you over while you're getting the paperwork, you know, your registration and shit that they asked you for. So I get my registration and all of that. I asked the question. He said, you doing 60 in a 40. Is what this joker told me. And I said, man, I just pulled off from the stop sign. I mean, it's the red light right there. This truck don't get the 60 that fast. And I said, I'm 4 feet from the light. He said, I said, how did you figure that part out? You running radar? They weren't running radar. So you can't tell me I'm doing 60 in a 40 unless you run the radar. Because the naked eye, that shit ain't gonna hold up in court.
No way.
So the joker looked at me, and so the other guy, he taps on my passenger window, tell me roll my window down. I said, I'm dealing with him. You can see through my window. I'm dealing with your partner. Why I need to roll my window down? Dealing with him. So he goes back to, he say, well, I smell weed, I smell marijuana. I said, well, y'all must be smoking it because I don't smoke. True story. I said, I don't smoke. I don't allow people to get in my vehicle that smoke. So that marijuana shit, that dog don't hunt with me because I don't smoke. So the guy say on the passenger side, he say, put down the back window. I said, I don't have to put down my back window. I don't have any passengers. And you can see that from my front window. So I had my police hat in the back seat. Just happened to have my police hat in the back seat that day. And I looked back there and I saw it. So I said, I'm gonna fuck him up with this. So I hit that back button. See, because he thought he was gonna be able to open my door, but he couldn't. I put that window down far enough so he could see that motherfucking police hat. So he tapped on the hood at his partner and he go here. So then he come back to the front window and asked me, oh, what agency you with? I said, what difference do that make? Fucked him up. So their whole demeanor changed. His partner told him, hey man, get out of here. Let him go about his business. So the racial profiling shit is happening, not only in my city, that shit happening everywhere. So I'm gonna leave that right there, and my partners, they gonna, you know,
Yeah,
I think they got
question.
let me finish,
I mean,
motherfucker.
go ahead, bro. I mean, I'm just saying, I have a question when you finish.
I'm gonna let my partners, cause they got some questions for the old boy, and that's how we're gonna tap onto this police brutality again. This is just how I feel, my opinions, and my dealings in law enforcement for 25 years, because I caught some wrath when the police were doing all that. Just so happens I police in my city, in my hood, where they know me, and they know I'm by law. They know I'm official. But when you go on them outskirts, and them people got that hate for the police, and they don't know you, they don't care nothing about that shit. But Warner, you got the floor.
All right, first question that I have for you is,
I just said. Hold on, the questions. We gonna get there, slaves. I ain't rushing the shit.
What?
I just want to say this. You don't mind, slave, do you?
bro, I'm listening.
Yeah. I just want to say also, concerning the issue, like, I've been on the other side. So, like, I never had police brutality actually done to me, but I've had over 20 arrests in my life. And I just want to say that sometimes it's our fault. Looking back, now I'm older, you know, it's the way you talk to them and all that. You ain't got to have an attitude. You ain't got to get, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, being in that field, me, when I pulled somebody over, it was, my thing was either, if you going to jail, depends, because I'm going to do my job, or you can, everybody I pulled over wasn't to lock them up. So it depends on how you came off. If you came off all ignorant and shit, then you got what your hand called for. If you had some respect, because I respect everybody. I don't care if I pulled them over, if you got no lights on, I probably just telling you turn your light. But if you get all ignorant with me, then I'm you take it here, then I have no choice but to take it there. But some people, a lot of times I had to have a lot of restraint, because sometimes the shit don't be that serious. But like Wing said, a lot of times it be the driver's fault or the passenger fault, or even the motherfucker in the back seat, that makes shit escalate to where it ain't got no business going to.
20 times, that's a lot of...
Not no serious though, all like traffic shit. I had two assault charges.
It's a lot of times, 20.
I'm 45. So how many times you been pulled? I mean, like, how many times you been arrested?
I've never been arrested a day in my life for anything.
I can believe, because who want to take that down?
You know, always been the big guy, though, fella.
Yeah, motherfucker.
A lot of work, we take that arrest that motherfucker.
Motherfucker got to lock you up, man. It's over.
I'm a professional driver. I don't get pulled over.
Man, but go ahead with your question, buddy.
First question, man. When the police officer was telling you that they smelled marijuana, usually the next step for that is they try to bring the dog out to smell your car and do a false hit on your car to try to search your car. Is that normal in the police force, or do the dog ever not hit? You know what I mean? Like, what I mean is every time I've seen somebody and they call the dog, they always say, well, the dog hit. But that's what I mean by that question.
Well, that particular night when them jokers told me they smelled marijuana, and I basically told them go kick rocks, because they be trying to, that's the thing where they want you to get out the car.
Right.
So they can search your car and all that. And to the public, to the citizens, you have to know your rights.
Definitely.
You have to know your rights. You don't have to get out your car for a simple traffic stop. You ran a red light, there's no reason for them to have you get out your car. You get your ticket sitting in your driver's seat and all of that. When they try that marijuana shit, that's because they out there hunting, they out there fishing, they racial profiling. They want you to, if you don't know your rights, they gonna know it. And then they violate your rights by get out the car and search your vehicle illegally. That's why a lot of their shit get thrown out of court, because they do that illegal search and seizure. That's why you gotta know your rights. I stopped a lot of them from doing that. They searched my buddies in my hood, search their vehicles when I pull up. What's going on? Bop, bop, bop. Oh, they went in my vehicle, took this, they did that, bop, bop, bop. Well, okay, well that ain't gonna hold up, because they ain't had no reason to go in your vehicle. If they don't see nothing in plain view, they can't go in your vehicle. If they see it in plain view, then you ain't got a shot. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no choice but to get out the car and all that, because you a dead man walking after that. So they ain't calling no police for no dogs for no little bullshit marijuana hit. They do that for the people that they tracking, that they know a drug that's moving drugs. 9 times out of 10, you get pulled over and they tell you they smell weed. They ain't calling them dog for that bullshit.
Okay.
Because that ain't even worth the paper that they have to write it on.
Okay.
They won't get no motherfucking promotion behind that.
So, my question is, it's a good question here too, because I got this question a lot of years. So now I'm gonna ask you, I'm not even gonna ask you this, but how difficult, or was it difficult at all, to run the Goodman League with your profession, knowing how to get down the gates?
That wasn't difficult at all. And I know what you're getting at when you police in your own community. So when I initially joined the feds in '97, when I got out of the Army in '95, I went to join the Secret Service. That was the first test I took was Secret Service. So I scored like a 92 on the Secret Service test, but then I never heard nothing back. So my brother, Baldy, was working at the White House for GSA. So he knew a captain that worked for Uniform Secret Service. And the uniform guy told him, hey, so they said I didn't pass my polygraph. And the reason I didn't pass my polygraph was because when I was in the military, we was out on a land navigation course for you military folks. So I helped a brother out that was out there stuck, that didn't know he was dead in the water. We were going through so I helped him get through his course. And we had a little navigation card. I poked some holes in the car, long story short, helped him get through that. And so we ended up, when he turned his card in, they could tell that the card had they could tell the card was altered.
Inconsistent.
That's because I took a pen and tried to push my hole through his card to get him through. And we ended up getting, we didn't get kicked out the military. We had to go back through the course. But so on your test, they actually have you ever lied, cheated, blah, 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 blah. So I guess when I said no to that's why I never heard back from them with that. So I wanted to do that. And that didn't work out. MPD wasn't an option because I knew a lot of crooks, hustlers, and all that. I said I didn't want to police my own city like that because I knew a lot of people like that. So then the Fed job come along, which was totally different. So, I used to ride around and the same guys I knew, they dapped me up, and it's all about respect. That went in my favor because there was a lot of guys that was working with us. They couldn't go where I went. They couldn't patrol where I was patrolling. They couldn't come down Bird Farm patrol by themselves. They couldn't patrol up and down MLK by themselves, or they wasn't getting that respect. I was known for being fair. Now, if I locked you up, you got yourself locked up. So running the gates, a lot of them people in the gates didn't even know I was a Fed.
No. So has the Homeland ever came to you about what was going on inside the gates?
What was going on inside the gates for them to have to come to me about?
Before, the marijuana was legal.
They don't give a fuck about that.
Oh.
They're Homeland ain't had nothing to do with the gates. Wasn't nobody breaking no laws down the gates.
Or even DC.
DC, no. They weren't even down there when we first started.
Right.
You know how long it took for the police presence to come down Bird Farm? Shit, that went into when I met retired Deputy Chief Grooms. That was in, the 2000s or something like that. Man, when no police
Well,
coming
wasn't which car there before?
Who?
Maybe I'm tripping.
She was the deputy chief.
No, when Lanier did before?
Lanier was the chief. She was the chief when
I'm saying she came to the days before Grooms.
Grooms wasn't the chief. She was the deputy chief. Kathy Lanier was the chief. But no, there wasn't no police coming down Bird Farm. We wasn't bothering nobody down there. They didn't want that smoke. I was doing them a favor. What I was doing was keeping the community safe and keeping the streets safe 4, 5 hours out a day for 6, 7 days a week.
So now that you did such a great job over the years, is that a gift and a curse? Because now they just depend on you.
It ain't that they depend on me. We work together. So we work together down there, and I didn't want. Our police presence is always good in an environment like that, because you got 1,500, 2,000 people down there a day, smoking, drinking. So they think the worst, but I didn't. So my thing to them used to be, if you come down there, I don't want you to come down here harassing the people, writing tickets and all that shit, because y'all don't do that in the white folks, when the white folks having something in their communities. You're not posted up waiting on them to pull off and follow them. So these are the conversations I used to have with MPD in these meetings. Yeah, if you're gonna come and be a part of what we're doing, don't be a problem. I don't want you to be no problem. So they used to set up, not sting operations, they used to try to call it these community,
Hands on deck.
all this hands on deck type of shit. But they were down there, they used to be looking in people's cars with flashlights and all that shit. And then people used to get pulled, trying to see if people had. And when I saw all of that, I went to Chief Grooms. I said, hey, this profile. I don't like it. It's profiling. When the Nats game's over, the police, they make sure the white folks get out of there safe and sound.
Yeah, they be doing traffic and everything.
Traffic, making sure you ain't harassed, make sure you ain't asking for $1. So I said, this ain't right. Don't harass my fan base like that. It's not right. And so she jumped in and she agreed. I said, if somebody doing something, breaking the law, all ass and speed, that's different. Don't come down there and set up traps for my fans. So we had that conversation. I said, you don't do it at the soccer games. When the soccer games over at the stadiums, you don't do it at RFK. You wasn't doing that at RFK. You don't do it at FedEx Field. So I was in these meetings going at these people, and they had to respect it. And they was like, this motherfucker's supposed to be one of us. This is what they're thinking. He carried that he carried that badge, yeah, but I'm gonna hold y'all accountable. I'm gonna hold you accountable. They had a police officer that used to come down there fucking with people all day, every day.
Yeah, I remember.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember some years ago you was going back and forth about they kept writing this parking tickets for no reason.
The dude, this particular officer.
Yeah.
So Fenty was the mayor at that time. I went to him, hey man, get this guy out of our community because he's not right. And he was black, but those be the motherfuckers that your own kind be the ones. So I had him removed, got him out of there. Because he was down there doing some bad shit and they wanted to really get at him. I saved him, for real.
So now, touching on black officers, if you can, what's your thoughts on the Memphis situation? Concerning they was all black officers.
Oh, who?
The Memphis situation.
Who?
Memphis.
Memphis?
Concerning they was all black officers.
Like I said before, I don't know the whole story in Memphis, but a lot of guys that join the police force for the wrong reason. And they say, well, you got to weed them out. You can't weed them out because you don't know that.
You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know till they get there. And you have one of them jokers had 15 complaints for the same shit. Mm-hmm. This is based on what I read. And they say, well, instead of firing them, let's try to rehabilitate them. Nah, you don't do that. The shit he was doing that I read, he supposed to got fired about 3 complaints in based on what he was doing. And he was one of the ones that was really in there fucking people up, fucking that guy up. So, again, like the chief said down there, the guy should have never got pulled over. Then you hear 3 stories, this and that, the lie, the truth, and what happened. So, that right there, if I'm in that situation with those guys and I pull up on the scene, that ain't happening on my watch. That ain't happening on my watch. So, again, power. And those guys had a history of doing that type of shit to their own goddamn people.
So from your experience, when is excessive force necessary?
Excessive force by the rule, by law, is necessary when you got to protect yourself, the public, or property. That's when excessive force is necessary. That shit right there wasn't necessary because number one, he shouldn't even got pulled over. And then the guy only wore $1.05. And that's how pressed they were. That's why they end up macing each other. It's called crossfire.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, they ain't pull out the guns and start shooting. They'd have killed each other. But that's why they got maced, because they were so pressed. And that shit was planned. You can tell the way they got out the cars and they was pressed to get up there on that scene, to get in there on that action. I don't know what triggered that, and don't care what triggered it, but that they supposed to get what they supposed to get for that. If I was one of them 6 motherfucking officers, because I got morals and principles, and that's what I live by.
So because I'm confused about this part. They all out on bail. Does officers automatically get bail?
Huh? It ain't just because they officers they got bail. That's the law in Memphis.
We seen all other officers ain't get no bail.
Huh?
We done seen other officers ain't get no bail.
Whatever the law is in Memphis, each city got their own laws. Whatever they was charged on, they were able to get bail. Some of them don't, like my man that killed a 13-year-old here in D.C. He didn't get no bond. I don't know if he out now, but when he went for his pre-arraignment, he didn't get no bond. So I think he owed to jail now with no bond. But again, you got D.C. state law, and then Memphis got their own laws. The Commonwealths, which is Virginia and them Commonwealths,
Pennsylvania, Louisiana.
They got their own laws.
Yeah, they got their
So
own
they
laws.
didn't get bond because they police officers. They got bond because based on the situation, the law reads they can get bond.
And there was one report that said that one of the officers' wife or baby mother worked for FedEx, and that this guy that they killed worked for FedEx, and that he might have been in some kind of a relationship with the young lady. And they say hold on, let me finish. They say he sent like a DM to her showing this guy laying on the ground all effed up. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but that was just one report about one of the police officers.
I read that on social media that somebody from Memphis said the guy was having sex with one of the officers' wives.
Baby mother.
Baby mother, whatever. Yeah. That ain't no reason for them to kill him.
That's true that.
You can't handle that in uniform.
My thing is, if he sent a picture of this guy laying on the ground to the girl, is that, what does that do for them? Like, that's crazy.
All that does is strengthen the case.
Here's the main thing, and I'm wondering if they're going to get off of this. In the video afterwards, you heard one of them say, he grabbed my gun.
Now, that's that cover-up shit, man.
Okay.
Yeah, man got his hand behind his back.
If you listen to the video, they was trying to change stories and trying to coerce a story and all of that to try to get out of that shit.
Then the man ran. They chased him down.
That body camera don't lie. That body camera.
See, the white officer say, way away from that. He was just one film.
The body camera don't lie. That body camera don't lie.
Have somebody need your opinion on
the white officer gonna get charged too, because he was supposed to went up there and stop that shit.
And then you know the three METs got fired. The ones that showed on the scene.
Yeah, they didn't do their job. That's why. They didn't provide the man with no adequate medical
They try to say the
assistance.
man was on dope. It's crazy.
I wouldn't give a fuck what he was on. He did that. There was no reason for them to do what they did right there. Nothing that guy did warranted him to get whipped up.
The video I got, I said he dying. He on dope. He half dead.
Yeah, I don't care if he got whatever in his system. That ain't gonna change that y'all whipped that man to death and killed him. That ain't gonna change that.
Okay, I saw footage off of police's body cam. He was mad at somebody that knew their rights, and he said 30 years ago, this was on his body cam, he's talking to another officer. 30 years ago, that cat would have been dead and with his teeth missing. What's your opinion on a police officer saying something like that? It was a white cop that said that.
Come on, man. I got pulled over in 1986. in Florence, South Carolina, coming home on Christmas break from Fort Stewart, Georgia, in the military. Me and one of my buddies got pulled over. This car that was coming up 95 behind us, this joker had to be going 100 miles, if not more. But wasn't nobody on that highway but that car and me and my buddy. And we got this police come out of nowhere and pulled us over. And that joker, they were so mean and thorough back then. They put me in the front seat, but they left my partner in the car. I was the driver. They got me out of my car. I'm sitting in the front seat with the state trooper, and that's a big no-no. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. So the joker pulled me over, tell me I'm going this many miles, blah blah blah. And I said, man, that car, the car in front of me was the car speeding. Shit, that joker told me, if you ain't got $200, you going to the county jail.
Wow.
That's what he told me. And I reached in my pocket and I had 220 American dollars and gifts in my car headed home for Christmas. That joker wrote me a ticket and took that last motherfucking $200 I had. They knew I wasn't coming back to Florence, South Carolina to no goddamn traffic court. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get out of South Carolina fast enough. So again, a lot of these jokers are acting. They doing this shit on their own. This ain't law. They doing this shit on their own. It's a good thing the body camera shit then kicked in. A lot of these police officers.
That was my next question. How does that work? Is it self? You start these on self or?
No, you got it when you.
Because why would they do all that and they know they got a body camera?
Because the motherfucker's ignorant. Straight ignorant. Because if you get out that cruiser and you get in a situation, you got to turn that camera on by law. You got to turn that camera on. So the body cameras, that's the best thing they could have ever done because thankfully that they were whooping a lot of black folks' ass out there in law enforcement. That's what brought on the body camera situation. So that was a hell of a tool, and it still ain't really, they still whooping your ass out there, body camera and all. So again, those officers are considered bad apples to law enforcement, and they brought a lot of grief on to great officers that was out there doing the job that we swore to do, that was doing it the right way. We caught a lot of wrath and grief. I remember I used to come out and go out in the morning when I was taking my cruiser home, and it'd be spit on my motherfucking car, windshield, cracked eggs. They done threw eggs on the motherfucking windshield and all of that. And all of that it wasn't hate for me. It was hate for that badge, based on what was going on out here. But again, these citizens fucked up too.
No, it's a
lot of them bring that shit on themselves. I ain't defending no bad officer whatsoever, but a lot of them citizens bring that shit on themselves. It's some officers out here, man, that's doing the job and that really gives a shit about their community, and I know a lot of them that's doing it, man. And when I meet officers from other cities or other states, you can tell the ones that's out here that's in it for the right reasons, and you can tell the ones that's in it for the power, and they fucked up. Those are the ones you got to weed out. It's hard to weed them out because you don't know unless they commit an act. But when they commit that first act, that's them. Fuck giving them a chance to do it again. That's them. I'm telling you. That's my opinion.
Also, as a citizen, you have a right to record officers on a traffic stop. So if a police pull you over, turn your camera on. Record the actions. Record what happens in your car. Because they can't tell you to stop recording. You can catch it what's happening on your side too. That can help you in the court of law too.
The main thing out there, y'all, know your rights when you get pulled over. Know your rights. But the last thing you can do, don't give that motherfucking officer a reason. Don't give him a reason. You get pulled over, put your shit in park. Put your hands on the steering wheel. All that excess movement, reaching, and all that, that's a no-go. Period. That's a no-go. Let them jokers approach your car and just and get the shit that you're supposed to have. Even if you ain't got no license. Even if you ain't got no registration. That ain't no death sentence. If you ain't got no license, no registration, all that is a fine. Or if you ain't got no license, no registration, all that sometimes that's an automatic lockup. But in my case, when I used to pull up on people that didn't have that, that's to my discretion. It's to the officer's discretion. I wasn't locking nobody up because they ain't had no license. That shit wasn't worth the paper that you write it on. You know, I gave them a citation. So citation and release. Get the fuck on, get your license, but you're gonna get this ticket for now. So, but that's the officer's discretion. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody, no insurance. You ain't got no insurance. Ain't no need speeding off and all that. You ain't got no insurance. All that is a fine. That's all that is. A fine. If you ain't got your insurance card in your glove box and you left it in the house, call your insurance company. All they need to see is proof of insurance. And it's a ticket if you have insurance and you left your insurance card in the house or for some reason it ain't in the vehicle. All that is a citation. If you can prove you got insurance, that's just a citation. It ain't no lockup or none of that shit. Know the law. That's where a lot of people fall short. Know the law, because it is a bunch of overzealous, sorry-ass cops out here that's trying to make a name for themselves. That's abusing that badge and that gun. And I don't condone that shit, never have in my 25-year career. Period.
One thing I liked about you in your career, when you pulled up on the scene of a police that I had already stopped somebody, the police officer thought you were actually there to back them up.
Well, that's the case.
Well, I mean, you were there to back them up, but most of the times you were there for the person that they pulled over to make sure that they're getting treated fairly. That's one thing I liked about what you did as an officer.
Well, I'm there to back them up, but I'm making sure they're doing what's right at the same time. And I pulled up on a lot of them to back them up, and when they weren't doing the right thing, and they had to do the right thing in my presence, because I always got out the car and went up there and talked to the person that they was.
Person had the infraction.
Yeah, because
Okay.
if you pull somebody over that got 3-4 people in the car, and it's just you, wrong answer. Mm-hmm. Because you lose focus, your head down, you running the tags, you writing the ticket, the vehicle in front of you got 5 people in it, you don't know what those people can do. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to call backup when it comes to that. It's 2 types of traffic stops. Routine and a felony traffic stop. Felony traffic stop, if you know somebody that's armed and dangerous and you already know it, blase, that's a different kind of stop. Mm-hmm. A routine traffic stop, red light, a tail light missing, all that type of bullshit, that's a citation, man. No need to get all uptight and all that and blowing a gasket about that, because I'm telling you, it's some overzealous, bad cops out here that's waiting for that shit to happen. Not only in my town, in every fucking town in the United States.
I have another question. So if a police officer pull you over and you're the driver, you have a passenger in your car, the police officer basically is pulling you over for your infraction. Do they have a right to ask that passenger for their information or to ID them or whatever?
No.
Okay.
That's not normal.
Yeah, so I was hoping
that ain't normal. The pastor has nothing to do with
because it's the person that got pulled over is who you're dealing with.
I've seen them where they ask everybody in the car
For the ID.
for ID, and
That's going against that
Yeah.
Fourth Amendment right.
yeah, that ain't no good. But it happens.
We have a
I ain't
Fourth
gonna sit here and
Amendment
tell
right.
you it don't happen because it happens. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Got you.
The best thing you can do is comply.
Right.
But if you know the law, you can refuse certain things. Like I was just saying about the passenger
Comply.
I did.
Comply. Fuck what he just said.
I mean, you got to know the law. If you
You
know
gotta
the
know the
law.
law.
It don't be that serious though. You gonna risk your life for a suspended license?
Comply.
No, I'm not talking about for a suspended license. I'm talking
I'm
about them trying to ID your passenger.
I'm saying niggas
You know,
out here
some
running for a
of them
suspended
get
license.
some of them try to pull you out the car because your passenger don't ID.
Right.
They can't do that. That's what I'm saying. If you know your rights, you know,
That's why
filming
when
them
that
also
shit-
helps.
That's why a lot of times when shit like that happen, when they do them illegal searches, when they do that, they no paper that shit. And no paper is when you go to court, the officer files his case, and when that case gets before the U.S. attorney, they no paper it. And they no paper it because it's no good, no basis and none of that shit. It ain't, again, my terminology always been, it ain't worth the paper you write it on. That means the shit ain't gonna go forward, so they no paper it. And when they no paper it, that means it's null and void. Null and void because they didn't do their job the right way.
All right. Another question.
Shit, here you go.
Well, I mean, what you mean? I can't ask questions. Maybe I'll be here to ask questions.
Yeah, like you start driving. So.
Oh man, get the hell out of here, man. Is it a bad question to ask the police officer? Do he have his body camera on?
No, that ain't no question. That ain't none of your concern.
Okay.
That ain't none of your. You don't have to turn his body camera on for a traffic stop.
Okay.
No, that ain't none of your concern.
Can you ask him to turn his body camera
No,
on if
no,
he
you
engage
can't.
you?
No, you can't.
What if you're out on the street and
No.
he just pull up on you and
No,
start
you
talking to
can't.
you?
That's not nothing for you to ask. The officer knows when they have to turn their body camera on.
Okay.
It's written law when they supposed to turn their body camera on. So, but it's not coming out of your mouth. They already know when they supposed to turn their body camera on. So if something goes down, like it happened in the city a little while back when they was chasing a kid up 4th Street one time, I saw the guy the officer never turned his body camera on. So that ain't good for the officer, and it ain't good for the citizen if it go bad, because you don't know what happened. So the letter of the law is, who gets the benefit of the doubt? Did the citizen get the benefit of the doubt? Or do you get a law enforcement officer the benefit of the doubt who didn't do his job and turn that body camera on? A lot of them, if they don't turn them on, it's because they're doing wrong.
That's why I asked that question about the citizen.
But you can't ask them, nah, he ain't got to turn his body camera on because you asked him. That ain't your fight. That ain't your fight right there, Mr. Warner.
It is what it is.
And let me get something else straight. Concealed carry, because a lot of people always call me and ask me about the new concealed carry laws that they got in each state. And like I said, them southern states, they got open carry. I'm speaking DC and Maryland and Virginia. Virginia is a Commonwealth state, so they got, I'm not hip to what Virginia laws are, but in DC and Maryland, it's concealed, and you already know where you can carry your weapon. You can't carry your weapon. Every state has different laws. DC has one of, if not the strict, is gun laws in the country.
It's blinking, Wayne.
You may not think that because every motherfucking body got a gun, but on paper, they have one of the strictest gun laws in the country. So if you go out and get you a concealed carry permit and you have a concealed carry and you live in DC, then that's just what that is, concealed carry. You know, cover your gun up. Concealed carry does not give you the right to go out and kill a motherfucker when you get ready. To abuse that. It's strict laws for concealed carry. Concealed carry does not give you the right to just go out there and be reckless. If you in your house and somebody's out there, because Wing asked the question, because he said some crazy shit that if somebody tampering with his car, he'll kill him. Yeah, well,
DOA.
Well, good luck in the feds, Wing. You cannot come outside of your dwelling and kill somebody because they out there tampering with your vehicle. You cannot do that. That is against the law. Your concealed weapon is to protect you in your house. If you are outside and somebody is threatening you and your family are in imminent danger, your concealed carry permit allows you to defend yourself and your family. You cannot kill nobody over personal property unless somebody kick your freaking door in to your house. Then they get what they came for.
They proposing a threat
But
to you.
if you go outside to approach somebody because they out there tampering with your car and then you kill them, dead wrong. Dead wrong. Mind your business. Call the police. That concealed carry ain't for that. Know the law for concealed carry. If they tell you, they don't just give you a concealed carry and say, okay, here you go, Mr. Warner, you got concealed carry. They tell you the do's and don'ts with concealed carry. They give you a fucking pamphlet. Now, if you go out there and you do what you want to do with concealed carry, hey, I'm a retired law enforcement. It's the same with me. I can't just go out there and be John Wayne, be no goddamn vigilante. Nah, it don't work that way. But you kick that door in, you get what you came for. I ain't going outside anyway if I see 4 or 5 motherfuckers out there tampering with my car, because you're going from the pan to the fire. You don't know what's outside. I know what's going on in here. That's the same thing if they take that risk and kick your door in. They gonna get what they hand called for. They don't know what's going on inside behind that door. But I'm not me. I ain't going outside and approach nobody about no motherfucking car or my neighbor's car, none of that. You call the police. You don't go out there because you don't know what's out there. You might be outmanned or whatever. Then you end up getting yourself in a bad situation. That shit is concealed carry. They got laws for that. Everything has rules and regulations to it. Because Wing was talking about, oh no, they mess with my car. Okay, Wing, you kill somebody for breaking in your car and see what the fuck happened. That's my take on concealed carry. I hope I touched on a lot of the law enforcement stuff again, just to recap. There's a lot of bad apples out there, man. You don't know who they are until they act. You know, it ain't the mayor's fault. It ain't the chief's fault. They don't know. They hiring based off of those applications. If you put on your application, you fucked up and all of that, and they hire you, then we have a problem. They don't know you that bad apple until you be that bad apple. That's just the way I look at it. And that's with any job. It ain't just with law enforcement. You get hired based on your application, based on your resume. Ain't nobody putting on their resume that they waiting to kill a motherfucker the first chance they get when they get their badge and gun. Ain't nobody putting that on their resume. So it's, we need law enforcement. Ain't no whole lot about it. Yeah, but the bad apples, I don't condone them at all. But it just gives, and you can't give law enforcement that bad blanket statement, because there's some good guys and girls, women out there that's actually protecting and serving and give a shit about what's going on. I run across them every day. I've ran across them in my 25-year career. Not only here, when we went to other cities to do work for Homeland Security, but I've also run across the racist officers from them other cities that ain't never worked with black police officers. I ran across those guys too, and they wore the same uniform that I wore, but I could tell, and I always put them in check. So, you understand? You know, I don't treat every civilian as being the bad guy. I never did that. I don't blame you for somebody else killing somebody else. I don't do that. You know, I can't do that. I can't put you in that bag. I can't blame you for Joe Schmuck going berserk and killing 3 people on the block. That's not your fault. So it's not my fault or any other good officer's fault. And if we got that bad apple out there that's making a bad name for law enforcement, it's a two-way street. You can't have it both ways. So just understand that part of it, and I hope I touched on it enough. In closing, next time we wrap, I'm gonna try to get me we're gonna talk about this crime that's taking place in our city, and but I want to get me a guest. I'm gonna find me a certified guest to have live inside the den to go over that, to cover that topic with. Wayne, you got anything to close out with?
Nah, nothing at all.
Big Happy?
Remember,
Subscribe.
the worst enemy of a good cop is a bad cop.
Where you get that from?
It's the truth. It's the truth. The worst enemy of a good cop is a bad cop. Because the bad cop can get that good cop killed for no reason. Because they doing stupid stuff. Remember that.
That's true, man. So, in closing, I hope we, gave y'all a little bit of insight on this law enforcement, police brutality, as far as where my perspective on it. Yeah, I don't condone it, but we got to weed them out. We just got to find a better way to do it. And in this business, first-time offenders, I think, got to go. You don't get nobody 3-4 times to be a bad apple. That's just my opinion. If you like the content that we put out there today for you, man, hit the subscribe button, man, and we appreciate you for joining us today on Live Inside the Den in my big raw voice. Till the next time, that's our time for the day.